49. Okay. Yep. So, did we finally get rid of the foundation? Yes. But we also... Huh? Okay, we get another one. Sure. So now we have nothing in there, huh? Okay. And we should have the king power? Didn't we get to choose something? Banner of the king. Oh, you get to pick it from here. What do we want? Blue rooms? I think we want blue rooms. Blueprints. Okay. So that's how it works, huh? Okay. Nook is fine. Nothing wrong with a bit of a nook. Library is fine. Leads to that corner as well. And we have the new book. The Black Bridge book. Okay. What about here? The office. Sure, we can take an office. Why not? That's the chess piece king we needed. We could log in. We can run the payroll and stuff, but... Okay, it has been already done. Do that one and then just log in. So we can go to the lab. Why not? Remote access, please. Lab. Okay. Experiment. Can we get a tunnel? Crates in the tunnel. No. I mean, permanent lockpicking skill increases never a bad thing, I don't think. And there should be plenty of shop rooms remaining. Okay. Fine enough. Can get the gem back as well. Level 303. And yeah, I guess we just go and read then, shall we? The Curse of the Black Bridge. The legend of Black Bridge is one that's well known to the people of the Grand Realm. 4 versions of this tale have been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colorful, more verbose, and as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale text seemed an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story's heart remained the same. Yet, the more I listened, the clearer it became that there could never be a definitive version of this tale capable of capturing all the wonder and meat of Black Bridge. In the end, I chose to write down what felt most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Part 1. The Berry Picker from Oris. Many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws composed of society's worst in a time when society was at its worst. And for each crime that fearful travelers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed, each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often value their coffers more than their companions, no crime could ever measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of this so called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jesper, who had not been lucky in life, having lost two brothers to war and parents to famine. In the years of hunger that followed, Jesper lived in a gutter behind a churchyard, relying on nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of the alleyways to sustain his pitiful existence. It is not surprising that a child aiming to escape such hardships will take any easy road out, an easy and well traveled road paved with temptations, leading out of the city and into the country lands where loose purse strings entwine with the strands of salvation and glisten equally with the hope of opportunity. It was this road that eventually led Jesper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of Blackbridge Canyon. It was here that he met his surrogate family and saviors, that notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite the hardened circumstances that had led him to this vocation of banditry, Jesper was surprisingly tender hearted and was often teased by the crew for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jesper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just innocence that set berry picking apart from the gang's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jesper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest had he alone worked while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of Blackbridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jesper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out into the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant Jesper could reach the furthermost berry patches without worry of being chastised for tarrying upon his return. Took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination, and along the way Jesper had passed by many familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bereft of berries that one would have to dedicate several moments in earnest examination before finding a single one. Jesper was patient, but even patience has its limits. He was confident that even accounting for the time lost on this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pains. Surveying the patches in this new grove surprised even Jesper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as stars in the skies. Upon seeing such a boundless sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over out of joy. Once he had regained his senses, Jesper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of this newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates, who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute the success to hard work. Smiling at his plan, Jesper set off to fill his basket and was making steady strides in this task when the sound of thundering hooves interrupted him. A carriage is approaching. The thought of it made Jesper freeze. Had he been so enchanted by his discovery that he had neglected to observe his surroundings? How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept toward the impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment before the sound source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jesper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around a corner of trees, led by two beautiful white horses and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated at the top of the vehicle. Flaunting the most sophisticated regalia Jesper had ever seen. It was not just any carriage, it was a royal carriage. Even without ever having witnessed such a sight before, Jesper was certain The sight had so transfixed Jesper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effect that the noble steeds slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You boy, get out from behind that bush," he shouted with a rigidity that betrayed a modest amount of fear. "You startled me half to death, coming round the bend of my own drive, and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where there ought not be any face." Jesper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was not suitable for courtly behavior, not dashing through the bramble and mud. "I was just picking berries." Jesper raised the half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see the proof of his words. The demeanor of the man suddenly changed. It was a change that Jesper was familiar with. He had many times seen the same stern expressions on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicion that the driver might have had instantly evaporated, for even the notion of a member of the unholy hounds picking berries seemed farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say, you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jesper took his cue to smiley step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. "I know, and what luck I found them. I have only just begun picking, and look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time back home to procure this number." The driver bent down for a closer look. "And where is your homeboy? It must be quite far." Jesper replied with a scripted response, "A little south of Tanner Fork, just past the burnt woods." "My god, that is far. You couldn't have come all the way only this morning." It was true, the Tanner Fork was in the exact opposite direction that Jesper had traveled, and while that response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to Blackbridge Canyon, he could see why it might seem less believable here. "Sir, I have traveled much farther for much less profit. I dare to say there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth undertaking for such a price as this." "Surely you have tasted them for yourself." Jesper felt happier with the response that seemed to amplify the man's smile. "In my youth often, but perhaps I took it for granted because I never had to travel very far. And even then, my father would always drive us here in our carriage, so I'm ashamed I have never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." It was Jesper's time to smile. "Then let my efforts reward us both today." He raised the basket even higher. "A taste in memory of your youth, sir." The driver chuckled, removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket, and at the moment his fingers touched the first berry, the dagger in turn met his throat, cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood. Jesper caught the man's startled eyes, "And for that taste I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth." The driver's arm had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, more frightened than he had ever been before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at this particular time. Jesper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. "Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause. Though I will admit the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me." Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jesper pivoted to search the seat under him. "Why have you no purse upon your person?" The driver slowly raised his hand cautiously, pointing toward the carriage door behind him. Jesper lowered the knife's edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did in turn softly. "There's a lockbox in the carriage." "Well, come down then and grant me the courtesy of sparing your life and binding your hands, a concession I assure you of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat." The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat of the carriage. Once down, Jesper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree, where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jesper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jesper had seen on this man's face, now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, should I grant you the same clemency you are showing me? Jesper stopped, surprised by the question, but he ignored it, secured the final bindings, and then hastily returned to the carriage. With one hand on the door's handle, he turned back to the man. If there is no lockbox, there will be no clemency. Inside, the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished golden facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in this vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jesper had suspected. The driver of this carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master. Any curiosity that his observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing what rested under the carriage's back seat, a large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle. Within a few minutes, Jesper had dislodged it from its hold and carried it out into sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, two observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all four sides of the box hinted that the box was very old and likely not created by Orindian hands. It reminded him of artifacts from the old world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock and would not open easily without a key. Jesper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his indentured position. Do you perhaps have a key you can provide me to open this box? Without emotion, the driver replied, There is no key to that box. Jesper stood up, easy enough then. He headed over to a nearby rock of a sizable dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever time when that lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone had completely shattered the rusted lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure chiseled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jesper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised how heavy it seemed given how light the box had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly to the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver's smile had once again returned. You are cursed, boy, for deadly is the stone. You have opened that which should have never been opened, and you are cursed. Jesper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. What is it? That's one. Feeling his disappointment rising to anger now, Jesper tightened his grip on the effigy. One what, you mumbling agender? And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person? The man did not seem intimidated. One pace, he paused for effect. 12 more and you will be dead. He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. If there was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Jesper looked down at the sculpted stone figure, now splattered red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He had of course heard stories of curses and had never doubted their validity in the past, but now that he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, his mind pleaded with him to be skeptical. And if he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, to say nothing of the chances of procuring a remedy. If he did not move from where he now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days, maybe more given the abundance of nearby berries, a plant that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might provide additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good will that do? To be discovered here, beside a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would most certainly be better to face one's fate now, take a dozen paces and see if life goes on. But Jesper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limb to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling the desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked about him for a solution. And if by some stroke of luck the gods had heard his plea, a miracle materialized before him as he found himself suddenly at the end of a fairy tale. Two white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him, the answer to his immediate prayers. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4. Perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, as that appeared to be some of value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task too great to chance. And so, after a profound breath, he took his second, third, and fourth steps through, though they were quite large. Seated now behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realized that he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fiction, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox, whose typical function often secures objects of values. Having witnessed firsthand the horrors of destitution, Jesper found his mind equally reluctant to allow his hand let go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care have I? And with that statement said aloud to the horses seemingly, Jesper took up the reins with confidence. Miller awoke to some light nudging from a familiar foot. Only one person would have the cheek to awaken her in such ill-mannered fashion. Shaking the sleep from her eyes, she glared up at him in darkness, but did not say a word. He nudged her again teasingly, then stepped back into the dim. After taking a moment for her eyes to adjust to the darkness of the cave, Miller remembered. She was on third watch today. Quietly collecting her things and wits, Miller turned as she left, waving to her young friend who was more than likely already asleep. She crept through the cavern's main passage, careful to not wake the sleeping bandits around her. Like a hero in a book, she often mused. Quietly, she grabbed a bow from the haphazardly formed pile of weapons, shaking the accompanying quiver in the darkness to assess how many arrows it held. She then walked toward the sun-drenched mouth of the cavern, ready to start her shift. Above her, in one of the few trees found in the canyon, Miller could see that Ravia was already posted. She waved and Ravia waved back. Calling out to each other was strictly forbidden. Anything louder than a gesture in the canyon was forbidden. When Miller reached the tree, Ravia lowered a braided rope and pointed to the ground behind her. Miller turned, following the finger, and saw a pail of water resting beside a nearby log. She turned back to Ravia and nodded and secured the pail to the rope. The pail went up first, and in turn Miller followed. Ravia reached across to grab the water. Miller leaned back to give her space. There was not much room maneuvering in this three-post, a necessary concession for the concealment the outpost demanded. Ravia tilted the pail up to her mouth dramatically, illustrating how thirsty she had been. Miller laughed silently as the water poured out, splashing on Ravia's face. It was a bit too daring and noisy of a joke, and had the others been around, they would have certainly been scolded for the unwarranted sound. But Miller appreciated the efforts Ravia took to verbalize the silence of the morning. They had been on third watch together for over a month, and during that speechless time their friendship had grown into something special. Affection was unsurprisingly scarce among the unholy hounds. She had felt camaraderie before, of course, but intimacy never. From their elevated vantage, the girls could see both the concealed entrance of the cavern as well as a clear view of the bridge that was spanned across the canyon. Black Bridge was the link between the Gentry lands and the northern mountains, the overpass that connected Oris and Reddington. To the city-faring travelers of the realm, the bridge was an unavoidable crossing. In the day, the task was to ensure that travelers passed by without stopping. At night, the task was to ensure that they do. Like most of her band, Miller preferred the night. The biting glare of the sun might be tolerable to farmhands and bricklayers, but to a cavern-housed bandit it was a source of constant annoyance. In the day, there was no shroud to conceal her expressions nor to hide her thoughts. She felt exposed. Rabia touched her elbow and pointed up. Miller, striving to suppress a budding smile, subtly shook her head in response. There were many signs that the unholy hounds used in lieu of words, but two of them had developed an extended vocabulary. Gestures quietly forged in the shared solitude of their month among the branches. She watched as Rabia shifted, placing her palms flat on the floorboards beneath them. Miller knew what she was trying to say, but shook her head a second time. It was often more fun to pretend not to understand. Arabia rolled her eyes and turned away, looking back to the canyon. Squinting through the leaves, the two girls held still, watching and listening. It was not long until Miller too heard the sounds of approach. Arabia held up two bent fingers, and a few moments later, two men emerged from the bridge's southern end. They were dressed in a familiar uniform. Long grey coats with black facings, white waistcoats, and black tricorn hats. They belonged to the local patrol, the Black Guard. Though not an everyday occurrence, their presence at Black Bridge wasn't an unusual sight. Typically indicated as an important traveler's impending passage across the bridge, information that the girls would promptly relay to their leaders as soon as the coast was clear. But this report, while exciting, was rarely acted upon. In Miller's 5 years in the Unholy Hound, she had never once seen a carriage taken in open daylight when the Black Guard was nearby. The men had nearly reached the bridge's north end when Miller heard the horses, faintly at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Rabia's eyes met Miller's, the same concern mirrored in each other's expression. This did not sound like the typical carriage, cautiously approaching the bridge to cross. Instead of the familiar crunch of the high road's gravel, they heard the harsh clattering of hoofbeats against stone. Both girls quickly redirected their attention downwards, looking through the foliage. The sounds were not coming from the high road, but from the canyon itself. The horses were coming from below the bridge. In an instant, Miller had unlocked an arrow and drawn her bow. Go! Arabia was gone before the whisper had even left Miller's mouth. The young scout was already sliding down the bank below, racing towards the cave. There was no road that ran below the canyon. There was no reason for numerous horses to be approaching their cave. There was only one reasonable conclusion, and both girls had reached it instantly. The base had been compromised. This was a Blackguard attack. The moment the horses came into view, Miller let loose her first arrow. She was surprised to see a carriage. She had expected cavalry. Before she even finished processing that thought, her second arrow was in the air. Without a trail, it would be unthinkable for a carriage to traverse such rough terrain, yet she watched as the wheels jolted over the rocky riverbed. A third arrow was now in flight, and there would be no need for a fourth. The driver slumped over just moments before the vehicle dipped into a small ditch, slamming into an embankment. The force of this sudden halt immediately shattered the front two wheels and catapulted the driver from his seat. Utterly confused now, Miller quickly glanced over her shoulder to see if any horses were also approaching from the rear. Down in the canyon, the entire horde of the unholy hounds came spilling forth from the earth as if hell itself had suddenly sprung open. The group seemed even more bewildered than Miller. half asleep and tripping over one another in desperate attempt to engage an unseen enemy in combat. Miller could see Ravia among their number, the only one looking up at her. Her expression was chilling. There would be no need for a silent gesture to convey what they both now realized. They had made a mistake. The gang's chieftain, Joffrey Heartslasher, led the others, cautiously approaching the crashed carriage like a suspicious fox would near a baited trap. There were no words exchanged as the group crept forward in customary silence. A dozen or so paces in front of the wreckage lay the far-flung driver, an arrow protruding from his broken body, and beside him a blood-stained effigy carved from stone. Miller was inconsolable. Jesper had always been her favorite. He had always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the hems of her every move, the way a child tails behind an older sibling. Tender-hearted, she had always called him, though deep down she had known that wasn't quite true. His appearance of gentleness concealed a raw, resilient durability that emerged in the most perilous of situations. He had never been a flower among the nettles of this cave, but he still had thorns, haunted by a grim past and 100 hands of misfortune. They buried him in the darkness in the back of one of the larger cavern rooms. He was interred with a berry basket and a silk handkerchief that he had treasured. The mysterious effigy they had found beside him served as a distinguished gravestone, a marker that stood out as somewhat special among the rows of similar swords marking neighboring plots. No one spoke, not even in whispers. There was nothing to say. Miller awoke the next day to a thunderous shaking and rattling of the earth, a far cry from the playful nudging of the previous day. She strained to adjust her eyes, but the choking sting of stirred-up dust caused her to flinch. Panic was also in the air. The sounds of scurried footsteps and clattering feet filled the space around her. But even in alarm, the silence was louder. What was it that sounded so strange? Miller closed her eyes tight and used her feet to guide her along the passage. The whispers around her were getting louder, and intense voices could be heard ahead. Louder speech than she had ever heard spoken in the canyon. A growing dread grew as Miller approached the mouth of the cave, her eyes now open wide despite the dust. Shouldn't it be day? Miller felt a hand in the darkness pulling at her. It was Ravia. The two embraced, and Miller did not need to see her to understand. Ravia placed two bent fingers against Miller's cheek, and with that touch against her face, Miller felt the same sinking feeling from the previous day. Two bent fingers confirmed what Miller had suspected. The girls had forgotten to relay one critical piece of information to the others. An hour or so later, the screams began. Blood-curdling cries of hopeless desperation. Captain Fodrick Lee of the Black Guard looked down from the ridge of the canyon to the collapsed entrance of the cave. Ah, he grinned, now they speak. Cursed effigy. That one was a long one, and I did notice some words where... Let's see. Where did I see those? Where did I see the words that were like... A carriage... My indignity... Lockbox... Deadly. Might... No, there's not that many. Anything they do. Go. Below. Go. Nah, there's no hidden message here. At least I didn't see any. It's just a cool story, I guess. Meh, we did get some information. We know some geography of the area, I guess, sure. And we know the name, the Grand Realm. Okay. Well, that took a while. We don't go into the office, please. Let's go this way. An hour into the video and we haven't even reached the 3rd rank. Sure. Sure. Yeah, let's go here. Do we need the pool? No. Maybe. I'll take a den instead, I think. Den instead, thank you. So we have the king, rook, pawn. So now we just need knight and queen. When this one leads north, that's fine. It's a shop as well. Bunch of gems, sure. Sledge is fine. Yeah. 5 gems should be fine, I think. That is queen. Okay, I mean that's the queen piece. And we do know the code. December 8th. Because the queen is on the 8th. Yeah. Right there. So now we just need a rook. Oh, no, we need a knight and bishop. Knight and bishop, okay. Knight and bishop. We might as well reroll this. I'm gonna go north. Can I go north, please? Galleries, fine, sure. We can get another roommate, more allowance. Why not? Okay, well if I have to take the parlor, sure. If you insist, I will. What do we have today? Any mention of gems? Yeah, the black one. A false box contains the gems, okay. Well, if the black box is indeed true, let's see what happens. Then the white one is also true and the blue one has to be false. Yeah, then the blue one would have them. What if you are false? The true box contains the gems. Then there would still be in the blue one, right? Yeah, okay. Easy enough, easy enough. Yeah, that one leads both ways, sure. Sure. Code check is back. I mean, sure, I can take the key card. Why not? Get the key card as well. We don't get stuck anymore then. Dining room's fine, leads both ways. Nothing wrong with that. Do I have any? No. So in that case, I think we just grab... I don't know, we just take the pantry though. Leave the dovecot be for now. Not special key, we are rank 4 still. I don't really want to lose my items. I could get a bunch of gems, why not? We have the study. Do we have the study, so we can reroll a bunch. Make sure we don't get stuck. I'd like to be able to go north, thank you. The canal's fine, it's straight. Pet the Ducky. The hallway or something. Sure, let's go north. Workshop is fine. Broken lever, okay. I mean, do we need that for anything? You can't craft with any of those thingies anyway. Music room's fine, leads the correct way. Give me something instead. I don't want to lose all of my gems. Okay, this one has the knight in it. So now we just need a bishop. And then we're done. Just a bishop. Walking closet could be a bishop, right? I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the walking closet. Is there any chess piece in here? Can't say I see one. There's knight. Do we need anything from the gift shop, by the way? It's a shop, so we buy anything. Oh, the box, you say? Well, 13 gold, sure. Let's go check that out at some point. Infinite gems. The freak was that? What was there? Fire? Did it like turn the room or? Huh? What was that about? Ooh, this one. Does this one have a bishop in it? I don't know. Not sure, but we still need these guys. Dormitory? I think dormitory has something to do with the storyline still. No, there's just a pawn here, okay. Do we... I'm gonna go left. Yeah, go left. I don't wanna get stuck here. Roommate leads to the right. That's fine. I think it is. Sure. What was the solution? There. Goes in there. The guy with the tin text. You go into the number 8 spot. The elephant, right? Yeah, you go here. Ducky goes in the corner. You are there. You go in the emblem. Far from the theme. Yeah, you go there. The monkeys first. Okay, one more. Special keys. Observatory is fine, leads that way. Another room with a knight in it. We just need the chapel. Or bishop room. That leads the correct way, sure, why not? Yeah, we can just go through. We could redraw a little bit, try to find a chapel or a room with a bishop in it. No bishops, huh? Not like an aquarium, I'm sure. It is a shop room. Oh, I ran out of keys though. That's not ideal. Well, that leads two ways, so... More chances that we can get away with not having keys. No keys. Sure, any keys in here? No key. Can we get the chapel now? Yeah, I think we can get the chapel here. Chapel. That one's fine. Oh, shovel. Nice, 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 nice. And a box as well. Smash that box. More gems, more rerolls. We could get some keys. Any keys to the turnip though? Nothing. Chapeli. Chapel or bishop? Does the attic have a bishop in it? Does the attic have a bishop in it? Attic. Do you have a bishop in here? Bishop. Bishop, bishop, bishop. Oh, bookshop, chapel, attic. Okay. So we have a bishop as well. Okay, it's in the bookshop. No, we don't have a bookshop. Give me the attic then. Sure, attic has a bishop and a thingy as well. We need another one as well. And the bishop. Yeah. These things you just have to write down, because you can't remember. Okay, 4 down from there, okay. Can we go there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, insecurity, okay. I don't think there's anything else. Sure. Almost lagging now. Oh, there's even a thingy here, okay. Yeah, why not? Go dig as well. Oh, I had to lockpicking it. I probably didn't need this. Mechanarium. I'm gonna do the dark room. I'm just gonna kill this from the draft pool. Because I'm never taking that guy, right? Chamber of Mirrors doesn't really help. Can do a clock tower. Sure. Anything new up here? coins. Nothing else. Yeah, there's a rook here as well. Clock tower is rook. I mean, it's kind of a tower, so that makes sense. Do we need to go into room 46? Does it do absolutely anything? I don't think it does. We're just gonna go back and just try to do the chess puzzle again and pick rook and see what castling does. If there's any like hidden thingy behind that. Because why does it say castle in the wall where a chess puzzle is? Ballroom, yeah, we can check out these rooms as well, why not? Or not, we don't have any keys, okay. Yeah, we still have one more room of the draft, the vestibule as well. Security head to treasure. Yeah, that's the spot. Anything in here? Takes forever. A bunch of gems. Okay. Bunch of gems. Well, those don't really do much. I mean, I think we just go and... What do we save? What can we craft? We have so many items. Okay, salt does nothing. The coupon book does nothing. Running shoes does nothing. Coin purse does nothing. Oh yeah, the lockpick and this thing does sound amplifier. So that's like a better lockpick, sure. I don't know, did we make one already? I think we did. Higher chance of picking locks. Magnifying glass. Combine with anything, huh? Battery pack. We can make a jackhammer, sure. We can throw that guy into the code check, why not? It's just a better shovel, I guess. Can you... No, you can't use them after you craft anything, yeah. They won't be components. I mean, the jackhammer is just nice, you just get complete keys and gems, yeah. Like infinite dig spots everywhere. Quail, we do have trophy room. We do. Infinite steps. Okay, where do we go? Conference room, code check, sure. All the fruits in existence as well. Check item. Jackhammer, please. See if we can get any use out of that. Okay, this one as well. Okay, we have keys now. So we can just go back in at some point as well, and we could check out what's outside. Yeah, let's go check out outside. We didn't get any dice, but sure. If we do get the shrine, then we can try with the monk again. We do. Wait. Restricted passages here? What does this do? I wanna check this out. Wow. Okay, so the monk worked. You can draw. Oh. Well, what do we take? What could possibly... Hallway? Let's try hallway. Okay. Hallway. Not to play. So I guess secret passage is just not to play here. Guess we need to try something more. Maybe even the antechamber, that looks like the room as well. There's not that many 4-door rooms, right? There's only like the vestibule and the antechamber all left, basically, but we've gotta try. The vestibule's locked behind a thingy. Okay, let's go and castle. See what that does, if anything. Some 300 IQ giga brain move. So you pick up a king and then you pick up rook. That's how you castle. Yeah. So where do I have them? Bishop, king. Bishop. That's a queen, king, and pawn was like here somewhere. Oh. Where was the pawn? Pawn is here, okay. The rook was like here, yeah. The security was somewhere here, and the queen, where was the study at? Study is here. We have the king. Now we are going to pick the rook. Yes. They do freaking castle. What the frick is this? They switch places? And a door opens. Oh, is this the one? I bet. I tried to do... Oh my god, there's so many. Who the frick is this guy? Do I need to do all of these? Black ones. So what do the white ones do? Nothing. yellow one goes up. Okay, this one's gonna take me a while. I think I'll be back when I solve all but one of these. Sure. Give me a 2-hour break. Hey, well, here's the first one. Does it do anything? The black key is lying with the last king of 8. Okay, I'm gonna solve all of these and then we'll be back. It's gonna take me, I don't know, this one took like 7 minutes? Sure. See you soon. Okay, and we should be back. I click this guy. I'm back. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side, 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side as well, okay. In Aries card, where the king now lays. The sacred hour that time-worn praise. Will a youth approach with empty arms? Without gifts, nor gold, nor mannered charms. And in sky above, a brilliant sign. A sullen cross as 5 stars align. A patient figure, a reckoning great. The black key is lying with the last king of 8. Here, this place, yes. On the sacred hour, is that the same as the clock tower? 1:30, 1 p.m. Will a youth approach with empty arms? Without gifts, nor gold, nor mannered charms, so you can't bring anything, you have to be completely empty. How does that work? So you need to spend every single coin you have? Or waste it somehow? And then come here. At the 1:30. Does it have to be like a specific day as well? You need to have the cross. Ooh, okay. Well, I'm gonna remove all of these. Are all of these the same? Yeah. All the statues are the same. Where do we throw this stuff? All the way down here? There's 1 or 2 missing as well, right? These are not all of them, right? There's spots free. Spots are free. Empty arms. You can't even have any items. No items. No dice. No keys. No gems. No anything. Brilliant sign in the sky. 5 stars. That's the cross, right? Southern Cross, that's what it's called. So this fella is the last king of fate, huh? This fella right here. Whoever you are, my friend. Yeah, I mean, there's no way I'm opening this one without something happening. Also, this place, I swear there's gonna be something here. Could you break this with the power hammer? And I mean, this one for sure is the one, right? Where do I have it? I have it in the classrooms, I think. Here, this one. One with the numbers. 8 stones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, for sure. Is there like a pattern? 1, 2. I left my jackhammer and I don't have a power hammer. Guess you could probably need something to light fires with as well. That should stay alright if I end the run. 1:30 p.m. So when I come back 1:30 without any items, any gems, any coins, without anything. So how's that gonna work? I guess we just have to draft some rules and then, I don't know, try to get rid of all of the coins and stuff we can. We can check out the tunnel as well. How's the progress going? There's still so many crates in there. We're even scratching the surface with the amount of things we've been doing to the tunnel. Yeah. Now what? I mean, is there any point in going up the ballroom? Do we have anything we could do? I don't think so. I think we just call it a day here. That's a solid run. Well, thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, do join the giveaway. Still have a couple more keyboards to give away this year. There we go. We got the unknown room. Down below, we castled. There was something hiding down there, man. Well, anyway, thank you for watching. I'll be seeing you tomorrow.